Hello, everybody, and welcome to Game 1 of the European coverage for us. I'm Llama Down Under. I've got the Wonder Cow with me. We've got Rebels versus Virtus.Pro. I'm pretty dang excited. How about you?
I am bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and happy to be here. I haven't even sucked down any caffeine or ginseng yet, but I'm already revved up and ready to go. Manila, man, it's exciting.
Yeah, obviously,
10
Rebel, the
seconds
second
remaining.
qualifying team, so say what you want. You can
5
argue that maybe
seconds
they're not as
remaining.
strong as KP since they didn't make it through on the first run, but I am interested to see how this one goes. Virtus
Virtus.Pro's
Pro
turn to
hasn't had
battle.
great results recently either.
Yeah, Virtus.Pro has not had great results recently either.
Dire
Is
team pick.
probably an understatement on that. They've really been struggling for sometime. Maybe the new patch will help kick them into gear. Maybe they've been boot camping. I haven't heard too much out of Virtus.Pro
Dire
lately, so
team
it's
pick.
possible that they're going to come into this with a bang, and it's possible that they'll go out with a whimper. We'll have to wait and see.
Definitely. Now for pickups, Doom, Beast Monster. Okay, well, I'm already
Virtus.Pro's
really
turn to
liking
battle.
Rebels draft.
Yeah, Rebels got probably the two
Dire
most
team battle.
prioritized heroes so far this patch. Beastmaster coming out. Doom is the only hero at the We Play LAN that had above average success for games that ended early, games that ended average,
10
and games
seconds
that ended
remaining.
late. He's the only hero that had high impact in all three types of games for game
5
length. He
seconds
was
remaining.
one of the most prioritized heroes. He had over an 80% win rate. Um,
Reserve time.
if you can help it, you need to not let that Doom slide through, is really what the lesson from We Play seemed to have been.
I think what is so amazing to me here is that just getting the Doom and the Beastmaster, another hero who's so prioritized.
Virtus.Pro's turn
Enigma,
to battle.
Slaughter, I can see the Enigma being a priority, but
Dire team
now you've
battle.
got Beastmaster who can Primal Roar through a BKB, so Enigma gonna have a hard time getting off that black hole. Similarly with Doom, it's not the easiest thing to get off during having to potentially walk around a black hole, but it's another BKB piercing stop.
Yeah. Yeah, and
10
also, I
seconds
mean, depending
remaining.
on the position of the black hole, Infernal Blade has that as well, right? So,
5 seconds
uh,
remaining.
in general, Enigma should be able to find opportunity here, but
Reserve
it
time.
will be more difficult than in your average game already. Because remember, Doom to stop Enigma from black holing doesn't need to cancel the black hole, just needs to hit Enigma with the Doom before the black hole comes out. And suddenly Enigma is erased from that team fight.
Virtus.Pro's
Very
turn to
much.
pick.
So after getting rid of the
Dire
Clop, the
team
Lone
pick.
Druid, I'm a little bit surprised by the Lone Druid ban out. Obviously, Lone Druid safe lane or even mid is a thing, but not what I was expecting coming out of Rebels. Not something that they had been running as much, but they're gonna go on Virtus.Pro for the
10
Witch
seconds
Doctor.
remaining.
So trying to make sure they have something to deal with all
5
the
seconds
units that might
remaining.
be coming at their faces.
Yeah,
Beastmaster.
Witch Doctor probably the
Reserve time.
strongest support right now in terms of value. Not only does he deal really well with the summonables, as you mentioned,
Dire
because the
team
Paralyzing
pick.
Cask adds extra stun duration to it. He has high physical damage output for the late game. Um, he's got sustain and heal for taking out those more difficult to siege outer tier towers. The tier twos that have been buffed
10
since
seconds
6.87,
remaining.
and he was already starting to be on the rise about a month before this patch hit, and didn't get any nerfs. Right, so for Witch
Virtus.Pro's
Doctor, he's
turn to
actually the
battle.
most played hero so far this patch out of the stats that I've run. Which once again, Dat Dota has not yet been updated for 687, so all the stats that I'm giving you guys are literally like I ran them by hand,
10
couple
seconds remaining.
thousand data points. So there might be small errors in the set, but for the most
5
part, Witch
seconds
Doctor
remaining.
seems to be the most picked hero so far this patch.
Up next, though, oh, it's
Reserve
Tinker. Rebels
time.
used this through the open qualifiers to beat a number of teams, and to me, this is pretty fantastic. I didn't know if we'd get to see it out in the more important games in the closed qualifiers, but I think their way of just saying, look, okay, fine, you have an alchemist, we'll make sure our Tinker gets the base amount of farm. Good luck sieging up high ground, and eventually our Tinker will just be able to hex your alch into oblivion.
Yeah, and also presuming that that's a mid alch, Tinker should be able to do very well against him with the 100% mischance from the laser, all of the nuke coming out. Alchemist does really well against sustained damage even through the early game, with that level 1 ultimate, but he doesn't do particularly well against large amounts of burst, right? So a Tinker, at least for the laning phase, in that sense, should be a pretty reasonable pick. And that's doubly so because you're looking at Virtus.Pro having probably a jungler with the Enigma. So the rotations aren't going to be as frequent into the mid game, or as effective. Enigma, not the best rotator in the world. Will pop under smoke and get out as many attacks as he can with Eidolons, but very dependent on his mid to create some sort of a disable.
Up for the bans, it's going to be Sven, another really popular pickup. A lot of teams, in case you're not up to date, it's been the Doom as a jungler support. He'll run at the mid. He's not being played as a core as much, and then that'll be, he's, the farming support. So there's still space for a Doom. This patch, pretty much the patch of greed. People being incredibly greedy with what they end up picking up.
Yeah, going into the jungle helps offset some of the damage that was done to standard strategies when the melee creeps were given less experience. You get that experience back by putting somebody into the jungle. And also, if you're going to have people rotating anyway, which is the way this patch works, is that towers are harder to siege down, especially tier 2s, moving, and you're on average getting less experience from the lane. Even though the experience from all the creeps in total is the same, the way rotating ends up working out is that you're not quite getting as much. In order to offset some of that, you're going to be rotating either way. If you're going to be rotating either way, you might as well be off the map as much as possible to give your opponents as little warning as you can. And so running those junglers that have been increasingly popular over 6.86 just seems like a natural continuation of that. I like the Broodmother ban here.
Oh yeah, of course. It's been surprising how many games she seems to be getting through. I feel like there was a time period in Dota, almost a year, where the rules were Brood was the 4th ban on the side who had the last ban. Always. Like that was just the rules. You don't bother. You wait to the 4th ban, see if your opponents are gonna ban it for you. If they don't, you ban it. So yeah. She's coming back in a little bit, but of course does get banned out here. Another thing I really do want to mention, Rebels in some of their open qualifiers game, they used the Doom to follow around the opposing jungler. And of course there was a lucky game where they got an Invis rune up on the Doom and were able to jump him, have them jump the opposing jungler. But if they can do it again, it'll be pretty good. It's going to be Lifestealer coming out from Rebels.
Boy, you said greedy was the name of the game, and you put your finger right on the button there. Lifestealer, Doom, Beastmaster. That is a mid-game, strength-strong lineup that does require experience, if nothing else. Farm is nice, but these guys absolutely need to make sure they're not being zoned out of lane, or they will have a great deal of difficulty just manning up. Especially since the change to Alchemist back in, I want to say 6.8.1? Way back when, whenever they changed it so that he has regen now instead of actually getting physical health. It used to be that his ultimate gave you a large cache of health up to like 1500 health. And Lifestealer was a great counter to Alchemist during those times because obviously he's going to go ahead and feast away a good chunk of that Alchemist ult. That's not how that works anymore, and Lifestealer no longer quite as effective dealing with the Alchemist because of that.
Very much so. I'm really interested to see how this Lifestealer goes. We've been seeing we've been actually seeing a lot more for Lifestealer, obviously with the Omelette change, the Omelette getting a buff, and then some of the changes to Lifestealer, meaning that he can't just hop into the Ancient, but it's been really interesting. I can also hear some of your background noises.
Sorry, I was moving my mic around. Just kind of moving it around, taking it on a little vacation. Seaside train track, you know how it goes.
Exactly.
Yeah, the strength growth doesn't seem like a lot for Lifestealer either. They moved him up from something to 3, 2.2 or 2.4 to 3. That makes a big difference as you scale into the late game, though, right? It ends up being
10 seconds remaining.
What, like a couple hundred health if the game goes late, which most games seem to be going late these days. Heroes are hitting 25 faster because there's a lot more hero-on-hero action in the mid game and a lot less tower pushing. So, you would expect this Lifestealer to get even bigger than you would have ever seen him get before this patch.
Agreed. He is having a great time. There was some open qualifier games where Lifestealer was getting close to 5,000 health.
Yeah, that would have sounded unreasonable before, but no longer. That's the bold new world we live in. And as everybody, it looks like just waiting on Rebels to figure out what they're going to do here. It's really playing tricks on my eyes that Rebels have the don't have the upside down exclamation point before the R for some reason. Like I really keep expecting that to be upside down, and it's distracting me.
So there we go. We're in. This will be
already to TP. Wow, look at this Void. He is way out there.
Yeah, and this is something we've seen all over the place, guys. The TP's only costing 50 gold. A lot of people going out to that early ward spot, making sure that they're safe. I've seen it a lot on the safe lane too. A little bit surprised that nobody from Rebels or VP has gone to their safe lane. I think
he was teleporting before I even loaded in. He was already getting out of that tower. It's possible that they'll TP out, and he was just super fast. FNG, man. He is the fastest TP in the West.
Definitely. So, here we go. Something else really interesting to note. Oh, okay, there's the mid TP out. That's where they want to put it. So they're going to try to get something deep. Probably in the jungle. This makes a lot of sense when you're up against the Doom, but they may encounter some resistance to their Witch Doctor. Nope, just going to be that mid ward. Should give their Alk at least some advantage against the Tinker. But as you pointed out, Alka's not going to have a fun time against the Tinker.
Yeah, he will need rotations, and I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up seeing No Fear on this Witch Doctor kind of hang out mid for a little while to secure him a base amount of farm that he can get that acid spray up and start to harass and zone himself. Yoki coming into the bottom lane probably won't need a lot of help, and FNG in the top lane probably won't need a lot of help. So once again, that draft decision probably was intended to buy the Witch Doctor enough space to be able to go to that mid lane and make sure that the Alchemist is getting what he needs to get.
Definitely. So they are poking at the boar on the bottom lane. It's really interesting, actually. Beastmaster dropped a ward top, so I'm not sure if these boar rotations are an attempt to just trick them into thinking the lanes are different, because I think Shocklow, obviously now pretty confirmed, Shocklow is going to be going top to face up against the Faceless Void, which is an advantageous matchup since boars just really make it a pain. And he's going to try for this rune. He doesn't manage to get it, and now taking a lot of damage here, and his ward de-warded.
Yeah, that's a series of bummers, but it was, a necessary attempt to stop that Alchemist from getting the Greevil's Greed first rune. It's a huge boost in gold, and already Alchemist getting off to a good start, which is nice because, once again, he'll probably start getting zoned out here pretty quickly. Also, level 1 Razor on TMW, by the way.
Also, of course, the level 1 Deny on the ranged creep, so gonna really help out the Alchemist in the mid lane. So. Well, Doom, Rebel, Vanscore, just doing exactly what we talked about. He's just coming in, harassing the Enigma, hoping to shut down his farm some. We've seen this before, and it can be quite effective. Yeah,
the decision to start utilizing more heroes than just Bounty Hunter as jungle disruptors is becoming increasingly prevalent. We actually saw in North America, I think, we saw one of the qualifier games have a Riki disrupting in the jungle, right? We're seeing Doom disrupt in the jungle. I'm waiting until we start to see even more creative jungle disrupt picks like Enchantresses or Chens. Certainly because of the increase in jungle prevalence, teams are really stretching as far as they can to try and make sure they've got surprise picks to just offset the efficacy of these jungle strategies.
Agreed. So, moving right over to it, this lane, not going so well for the Slaughter, not feeling like he can do too much up against Sidoi on that Lifestealer. And actually, we completely missed player introductions, so I'm just going to quickly go through them while we have this non-action at the beginning. On Rebel, we've got Tame Wild playing up that Tinker up in the top lane, Beastmaster, who's actually not yet having an amazing time up against the Faceless Void. We've got Shocklow in the bottom lane, Disruptor being played by Metrum, Lifestealer being played by Sidoi, and finally the Doom being played by Vanscore in the jungle.
And here on Virtus.Pro for the Radiant side, we've got FMG taking the Tachyon Master Faceless Void in the top lane. In the mid lane, it's G with the Greed on Alchemist. In the jungle, we've got Aloha Dance winning with a little help from his friends on the Enigma. And then down here in the bottom lane, we have No Fear doing that voodoo he do so well, trying to heal up.
Goodness gracious. Yoki looking like he's in a lot of trouble. There's going to be the Thunderstrike. Will they be able to seal the deal on this one? Yoki incredibly fast with that sprint. Of course, it phases you through people now. Metrum does not have a point in Glint. They need something else to slow him. Slithering Crush, stopping Von Score from getting the double damage hit off. And Yoki, he's out.
Wow. That was a very risky decision to go all the way around away from his Witch Doctor the way that he did. Obviously, the heals couldn't come. They were not going to be forthcoming that deep, but he's already back and at full health and ready to go. So a nice play by Yoki, just really outmaneuvering his opponents.
Really nice thing here too. Obviously there were some other options on how they could have lamed this. I actually think the Disruptor one of the better options against the Faceless Void, since the Thunderstrike is damage that takes so long, 6 seconds, that you can't time walk it all off. But I think this aggro lane working out well for them. The only downside is Faceless Void is getting a lot out of top. I was expecting him to get a little bit less with both balls up, but he is just murdering those things.
Yeah, FNG's doing really well up here. I am with you. I would not expect the Void to be doing this well into a solo Beastmaster. I'd expect him to be getting all of his experience, but maybe not getting top of the last hits and eyes. Though the next 3, right, it's not like the Beastmaster is losing because he is keeping up. And then, of course, both the other lanes are going Dire side, so it's not like Rebels are getting completely outplayed here.
You can see the game, all in all, pretty even, especially considering that there is an Alchemist in the mid lane. Tinker, he's decided to get max points in March, so that should tell you what they're planning for. They're expecting Fighting Ball. Aloha Dance taking a lot of damage from this Scorched Earth. Tinker wanting to come in and help. He's got the laser. There's the first blood and Tame My Wild. Oh!
Ooh,
okay, we got action coming in. The kinetic field should be enough to keep Yoku out. Sidoi coming over. He does not have that open wound, so it does not look like they'll be able to go on Yoku.
Yeah, the No Fear barely got away there. He actually had to TP back to his tier 2 and then walk back in to make sure that the Slardar would be okay. They dove very deep on that. Not able to secure that first blood down in that lane. Of course, their teammate did it elsewhere. But even so, forcing out the TP from No Fear so that there definitely cannot be any rotations from him in the near future, and forcing Slardar out of lane for that little bit of time. Certainly this aggressive tri-lane seems to be working very well for them.
And stopping Slaughter from, since this is a core Slaughter, actually expecting him to get an armlet before the blink. Slowing him down on that front makes him much less able to play aggressively. Obviously the armlet gives you a bunch more health and just makes life a lot easier for you as a core.
Yeah, and the ability to toggle that into the Tinker is really useful. Neither of the Tinker's spells are exactly instant cast point, right? So as long as you're not standing on March of the Machines and Tinker doesn't have a sheep stick, the toggle will often be enough to buy you the space to survive any sort of barrage from a solo Tinker.
Enigma's having a lot of trouble here. Enigma level 4, 5 minutes in. Enigma's one of those heroes that can come out of the jungle, assuming you get the right creeps. Oh, we have a Chronosphere up in top lane. Faceless Void waiting for Witch Doctor to come on over. Paralyzing Cosk. It's gonna just bounce between him and the boar, and Sharklow very low. One more hit. The time lock doing good work. Doom has come on over. Looking for the Witch Doctor. Will there be another time lock? No. No such thing, but Vonsko has to back on out anyway.
Really nice rotation from No Fear, and just a Chronosphere decision to throw that up when the boar was there and there were no creeps, so that when No Fear arrived, the Paralyzing Cast would guaranteedly provide a reliable stun. Those little things that make a big difference. Down bottom, Yoki.
Yeah, they actually stack the open wounds and the glimpse, so Yoki gonna stun. He might try to turn this, I'm not sure. Oh, with Enigma coming in, Metrum, you're in a lot of trouble. There will be another Slithering Crush up right now. He's gonna get it onto both of them, and Metrum goes down. Sidoi in quite a bit of trouble as well. He's gonna go on No Fear though, because Primal Roar has come on in. And support for support. Both cores getting kills.
Yeah, it's maybe not ideal to be losing out your Witch Doctor, who was part of a kill just a minute ago, but at least they're getting something, right? Virtus.Pro are not being completely zoned out. In terms of last hits, they are starting to get back online. The Alchemist is moving into the jungle and knocking down some creep stacks, and that has helped him get back to the top of the net worth where he belongs. Up until now, he had not really been up there. That said, Tinker is getting pretty close to his traps. He's about 900 away. If there are no rotations into this mid lane, this Tinker is going to get out of control.
Yeah, Tinker's farming incredibly well. Obviously, he does have more last hits than the Alch. Not by a huge amount, but it's enough that he's kind of done well in the lane. A lot of heroes
Yeah.
can't contest the Alk's farm because of the acid spray. Was Tinker just putting down his own? Watch the machines being painful. Aloha don't, since it's nighttime, they will not see him. That's why you can see Disruptor not able to quite get the glimpse off. And Beastmaster's pretty deep. Level 7, already roaming. 11 seconds on that Primal Roar.
Yeah, as soon as he has that Primal Roar up, he needs to get out and get something done. The early roams make a lot of sense here, and not only because of the way that this game is shaking out, but the way that the current metagame just tends to prioritize. And I will also just state that even though Tinker, it looks like from the last hits that he wasn't really that far ahead of the Alchemist, a lot of Alchemist creeps came from the jungle, just from stack, from knocking down with Acid Spray. So Tinker was actually good and well ahead of the Alchemist. It wasn't really that close of a contest.
They're coming into the jungle. They have eyes on the Dire on Enigma, and it looks like that's who they want to pick off. Completely understanding that the longer they can keep Black Hole... I mean, this is awful timing for an Enigma. 8 minutes in, not having level 6, it's incredibly late. But instead, Rebels, they'll take the mid tower. Really important for map control here, guys. Obviously, having that tower down, it means that invading the jungle is easier, so Enigma has a harder time, and Alk will have less room to farm.
Yeah, it also takes away that primary access point for most of the engagements that you're going to see through the mid game, which tend to happen in this general area. For Radiant to re-engage off that tower will be very difficult, but for Dire to re-engage when they lose out their towers is going to be much easier because they, of course, are going to have the Boots of Travel along with the Hawk. So Tinker will be able to go anywhere he wants to go on the map at any time this game. That little bit of synergy, pretty nice. And the Boots of Travel are up on the Tinker. First, other than the Alchemist's Armlet, first major item that we've seen this game.
He has 460 GPM. That is very good. For 9 minutes in, 460 GPM is insane. So Tinker's having a great game, but of course the Alk gonna start climbing up there. He's been clearing stacks in the jungle. Rebels get themselves another key tower. They do trade it for their own tier 1 in the safe lane, but a lot of folks agree this is more important, and I'm especially surprised that when running a jungler on VP, they're so willing to give up their towers.
Yeah, the Dire side tier 1 is on the opposite spectrum from the Roche Pit. It's on the opposite spectrum from, once again, that primary engagement area of the mid game. So while it does ruin a little bit of the protection of their own jungle for the Dire side, the actual Dire jungle that you need to protect are these 3 camps here. And those 3 camps are much more defensible than the equivalent camps on the Radiant side. So losing that tier 1 on the Dire side, not nearly as big of a deal as the Radiant equivalent, which is not only a Roshan access point, in engagement to the southeast corner of the board, which tends to be much more important for the mid-game engagements, but also the important jungles for Radiant, which come out to about here.
Very true. So, Alchemist just continuing to farm. It looks like he's going to be going that Radiance build. It's not, for those of you who remember the patch where Alk was being picked every game, really the only change in the item build is that Alk now goes the Omelet before he picks up the Radiance and before he picks up the Mantis. Meanwhile, there's a smoke into the jungle. Witch Doctor does have that ultimate. He is going to run into 3, though. This Chronosphere needs to hit at least 2, maybe more. And Dire, they've seen this. Oh gosh, Tinker, he's getting caught out there. There's going to be a Death Ward dropped with his name on it. Nobody can do anything. Tame My Wild will be going down. A huge kill for the Faceless Void, but they are just running in. The Rage doesn't stop you from the physical damage, but they'll bring down No Fear. Can they find themselves the Faceless Void? He's doomed before he can Time Walk. A big mistake there from FNG, not immediately using the Time Walk to escape. And they will get 2 return kills. 3, Yoku, he is getting very low and will be brought down after the Primal Roar.
Well, that's a trade you'll make every day and twice on Sunday, right? You obviously don't want to trade out your Tinker, who is the, well, up until that fight was your most farmed hero, but being able to take 3 and then a tower to boot is pretty nice.
Static Storm, but the kinetic field doesn't latch. Vonsko trying to go forwards. He wants to go Black Hole. Sadoy TP's into it as well, and the Alchemist lays down the acid spray. Sadoy will pop that Rage, trying to go on through. Tinker is here now with the lasers, but the regen from the Rage keeping him alive for so long. Aloha Dance will be glimpsed back and die, so they will get the return kills. And all things considered, Rebels performing incredibly well this game.
Oh yeah, I will say that Black Hole was just spectacular. As the TP comes in, the Black Hole goes down, hits somebody, the TP in. Aloha Dance showing us why Aloha means both hello and goodbye, right?
Really nice play. So, things going back to even, which is really impressive. Whenever there's an Alchemist in the game and the net worth graph is even, you're actually winning by a lot more than it looks like.
Yeah. And that's going to be the case a little more often with Alchemists, just because, once again, it used to be that an Alchemist would get off to a net worth lead individually, but then that would spread out to his team as he was able to help his team siege towers. Towers don't fall as quickly because of the changes that were made literally less than a week ago now, like a week ago this afternoon. And teams are still kind of getting used to the new pacing in terms of net worth and itemization. We're going to be seeing probably increasingly heroes like Alchemist who either have ability to offset net worth disadvantage, or they engage really well from levels alone and don't need a lot in way of farm.
Yeah, just to recap, guys, obviously their towers got buffed from the sense that you get a bonus armor aura when you're fighting underneath them. So sieging towers or taking fights under an opponent's tower, ganking someone under an opponent's tower got harder. There will be a Roche attempt. There are no eyes up here for VP. In fact, they're only ward up here in that top rune spot. So it looks like Rebels will get a free Roshan.
Yep, they also did throw out their scan on the pathway, where they do have Hawk Vision now, but at first they did not. Their opponents also throwing out a scan similar. It seems like they had a general sense of what was going on, but didn't get that scan out quite in time to see the Rebels going into the Roche pit. So, free Aegis is going to be the key.
And something as well, folks, I do expect actually over the 4 days of these closed qualifiers the meta to change. Already in the open, a lot of different heroes we were seeing pop up. We saw some things like support Tidehunters even popping up, along with, of course, Doom feels to be firmly back, and Lifestealer and Slaughter as position 1 carries.
Yeah, the Slardar really came out with Wii Play. He was played a ton in the finals. He was played quite a bit throughout the rest of the tournament as well. Doom I already mentioned in Wii Play. The support Tidehunter nonsense is something that I'll be interested to see if anybody else
we
picks
have
up.
a Primal Roar onto the Arc. They're trying to take him down before anything can be done, and they will get him. The rest of VP realizing that their ally is dead and just TPing, blinking away. So a nice clean pickup there for Rebels, and it feels like they're dictating the pace of this game.
Yeah, they're doing a very good job. Of course, with that Aegis, they're going to need to knock down some tier 2s. In order to move into those tier 2s, you need to have a sizable control advantage. Not only because of the armor ore that you mentioned, but also because they just do more damage than they used to do, up to 25% more, since the patch change. So they have an Aegis, they've taken an Alchemist down, but at some point in time, they're going to need to be able to group up and make some objectives happen. Usually we're not seeing that happen until around the 20-minute mark these days. Up top, or jungle.
We'll have a kill pick off there. It was a good... Okay, Black Hole onto Vonscore. This is going to be something nice for them, but then the March is already down. Vonscore, can he doom anyone before he gets unstunned? Yes, he manages to get the doom off. Smacks away at 1. They will be getting very low here. The Lifestealer going in onto the Slaughter. They still need a little bit more damage for this Faceless Void. Let's see if Sidoi and the Disruptor can find it. The Voodoo Restoration coming out. It looks like FNG should be fine, but the Kinetic Field catches out Aloha Dance, and Rebels getting the upside of every single one of these changes. Aloha Dance throws out the Malefice, but it's not enough, and Faceless Void even having the Tinker. There's the Glimpse backwards. He does have enough mana for another Time Walk. He's going to have to use it here. He jumps on down to the Disruptor, actually smacking away at him. Tinker jumps on in mid, gives him the mischance from the laser, and they manage to bring down the Faceless Void.
Rebel are just doing such a spectacular job creating chaos and forcing their opponents to rout in these fights. Getting around, even having lost the Doom, like it didn't make any sort of sizable impact on that fight. Just he got the Doom out, forced out the retreat, and that's really when this Lifestealer Disruptor combo is feeding off of their opponents. Anytime their opponents are trying to retreat away, you pick off the weakest, most available runt of the herd and run them down with that kinetic field, or you go some back into the open wounds.
Yeah. Also, because of all of these wins for the Rebels lineup, who are now almost 2,000 gold ahead, 1,000 experience, the Sanjin Yasha will be done on Lifestealer soon. Doom working towards, I think... Well, actually, he's got a complete mishmash of items here.
You know, sometimes you just gotta have a little bit of everything. It looks like he's going to go into his team's mechanism?
Yeah, I think what might have happened is he got up the Bassi, it helps you with jungling, it helps you with everything else, and then realized that his team doesn't have a super easy mech carrier Disruptor, not wanting to go that. Probably Disruptor thinking that he might eventually get, I don't know, he could go for the 4-star. I'm a little surprised we don't see more casual Windlaces popping up.
Yeah, you see a ton of Windlaces in China. At least I didn't watch a ton of Chinese games last night, but in terms of like just watching their open qualifiers, Windlaces were very popular. I'm kind of surprised we're not seeing any raindrops either.
Yeah.
To be honest, like against a Tinker, that would be a super strong item.
Raindrops is one of the items that I think some teams have very much embraced way more than others. Obviously, raindrops, as you said, very popular, but it does feel like there are some teams who, similar to how Scan, some teams aren't using it, or a lot of teams aren't picking up the Tome of Knowledge right on the 10-minute mark. Raindrops seem to be something that a lot of teams don't like. And here I can also see that maybe for VP, they are not super... they've got too many items in their slots already. Don't think that they can spare one for a raindrops.
Yeah, that's certainly... I mean, they all are 6 slotted up at this stage. You could maybe make the argument that FNG doesn't need the Quelling Blade and could have a raindrop instead. But flip side to that is FNG is one of the more survivable heroes on the team, so he's not the one that needs that sort of survivability addition.
So, Yoki, he has the blink up. He actually, I'm very interested by this, even though he was safe lane, didn't get enough farm, I think, decided that he just couldn't get enough to go into the omelet, or thinks that the blink is more important here for the setup onto Rebels.
Okay, interesting. So Radiant did a defensive scan into their own jungle to see where the rest of the team was. A nice attempt to bait out by Rebel, coming around the back end under Invis and waiting. The scan indicating that it did sort of work against Virtus.Pro. Virtus.Pro just not interested in defending that tower. As long as that... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and it sucks for them because they can't even trade against the Tinker. There's no way a Tinker is going to let them take a tower, so they can't get the tier 2 trade.
Yeah, the Alchemist just isn't big enough yet to knock it down. One of the downsides of that Radiance build is that it's not going to give him the attack speed or really the negative armor that maybe a Desolator would, or any real way to knock down towers effectively. It allows him to get out into the lane very effectively, but once he gets up to the tower, it's more of a slow chip than an instant crash. And in this game, they need some ability to knock down towers very quickly or they're in trouble. Up top.
Yeah, Witch Doctor incredibly far out. Tame My Wild obviously blunk into the trees to keep himself safe. Faceless Void just gonna run into him. There is a Death Ward with his name on it, and this will be a nice kill on the Tinker there, finding him despite his tricky ways.
Yeah, well, I'm really not sure what TMW was doing up there. He didn't seem interested in moving on the Witch Doctor.
Oh, Slithering Crush in the mid lane. This looks like to be the Black Hole set up with a Static Storm on top. They have picked up the Beastmaster though, and Aloha Dance not quite dead yet. They need to bring him down before he turns around. Doom out onto the Alchemist, but there are still so many heroes here for VP. They have the Radiance up as well on the Alchemist and Von Skull, all with the Time Lock and the Amplification. He is taking way too much damage. Also, Disruptor in a lot of trouble here. Lifestealer is inside of him in that Infest, but Witch Doctor, there's the stun out. Immediately, the Infest Bomb opens up onto Yoki, but again, they are surrounded in a lot of trouble. Trying to pick up one of the weak links. They managed to get it, but Sadoy, not sure he'll be getting out of this one alive. He does have an omelet to... No, he will fall.
Yeah, that's a hell of an armor toggle. With 3 heroes beating the crap out of you and you're gonna try to toggle into a Radiance. It's not a very easy way to roll. That... Honestly, not obviously the whole fight comes down to, but a big portion of that fight comes down to the Doom was used on the Alchemist after Alchemist had already popped his ult. What's the point at that stage? You know what I mean? Like, the Doom isn't even going to be felt by him at that juncture. You might as well eliminate some other hero from that fight.
And it also feels like, obviously, not having the Tinker around really hurting Rebel. There was no one to come in and lay down a defensive march of the machine, no one to stop the onslaught coming out from VP. So they will finally get themselves a one-team fight.
And that one-team fight is going to be a finished Manta style on the Alchemist. It's going to be, looks like finished Yasha up on the Faceless Void. Enigma is past the mechanism and moving in toward his casual cloak. yeah, that one team fight ends up making a swing so far in Virtus.Pro's favor. We have not yet seen an economic advantage to this degree so far this game. That was about a 5,000 net worth swing, all things said and done.
So with the Manta, we'll see Alchemist's farm continue to skyrocket in that way that it does. We do have Necro level 3 on the Beastmaster. I imagine he'll be going for the Blink next. I wanted to ask you, do you think Enigma here, do you still try to get up the BKB that a lot of Enigmas like? It doesn't feel as effective here.
I don't think so, right? Yeah, maybe only if the Static Storm is really screwing with you, because you still have the Primal Roar to deal with. You still have a lot of the aspects, right? You got Doom. It just doesn't seem as defensive or cost effective as it normally would be. So if the Disruptor is becoming a real pain, yeah, sure. But other than that, you might as well just go into something a little more utility and help out your cores.
Here it is. The 4-man rotation. Tinker, of course, can bots in onto the Beastmaster units. They want to find someone. They'll run right into the Enigma. Aloha Dance is there. Primal Roar should be a quick pickup for them. Tinker even coming in to help out. And they're going to try to turn it into a tower siege here. Going for the tier 2.
Yeah, it looks like the Radiant are okay trying to trade tier 1 for tier 2 here, considering they did just lose the Enigma. I think they should be able to get this even with the Martian machines incoming from Tinker. But G not willing to stick it out. Not sure if the rotations are coming, I guess. And they're going to get no trade at all.
Yeah, it's interesting. They even... Oh, okay, we have a glimpse. They sent somebody back from their TP. So there will be... I don't think they want to siege the high ground. Also, interestingly... Okay, we've got the catch out onto Sadoy. He does not have it. Oh, he could get into something. He's going to go for the Infest to save his life, and that's a full Death Ward wasted. Bonskull with the Infernal Blade will be able to get it off, and no fear falls. Really nice save there on Sadoy, managing to infest something, and we have folks jumping over each other in the jungle.
All right, well, that's one way to turn a fight. That looked very strong for Virtus.Pro for a moment there, but the fast rotations coming out of Rebel, once again, their just general teamwork and communication have been absolutely stellar. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they do throughout the qualifiers. I think this is their first game so far in the main group stage. And probably Virtus.Pro was a good team to be moving into. It's certainly a team they're going to be familiar with. They're both from the same general region. A lot of them have played together before. I'm sure they're scrimming it together as well. But then on top of that, Virtus.Pro has just not been the strongest of all the European qualifier teams for a little while. And getting off to a good start can really have a pretty sizable psychological impact on these open qualifier teams that may be coming in, having played a lot more forced games over the last couple days, right? And maybe a little bit more stressed out.
Yeah, obviously for Rebel, I mean, I don't know what exactly their mindset is here, but you're probably feeling really great that you managed to make it in to the to the regional qualifiers, right? Maybe you're a bit, hey, we should have been invited, but you know, you had to play through 4 days of it. You're probably coming off of a high, albeit maybe not as much studying as you'd like, but as you said, these guys scrim. So I can imagine VP maybe being more frustrated, not doing as well as they'd like against a team, and Rebels instead feeling very empowered here.
The Assault Cuirass is almost done here on Sadoy's Life Stealer. The Bloodstone has been finished on the Tinker as well, and that is a 12-charge Bloodstone. They need to kill this guy before he gets too out of control.
Also, guys, this is the first game for this group. I realize some of you might not be up to date on it, but this is the first game being played for this group, since the way it works is there are 2 groups for the regional qualifiers for Europe. And obviously, it feels nice to be up a game, or up 2 games if they can take the series 2-0. Each set is just it's written as best of 2, but a lot of people don't like that phrasing. It just means that you play a bunch of 2 games against teams, and whoever has the most wins advances forwards.
Yeah, a 2-game series is the reasonable way to put it. A best of 2 is technically, traditionally, where a 2-0 win gives 3 points, which is not the case in the
Yeah,
Manila
they're doing
qualifiers,
1 point per win.
Right, 1 point per game win, regardless of how many game wins you get against a team in a series. So they are 2-game series, and the top 2 teams from each group will move on to a double elimination bracket. and only one team from each region will actually move on to the Manila major. So certainly very high stakes, higher stakes than we've, I think, ever seen before.
Okay, here goes the Doom right immediately onto the Alki. Has not gotten his ult off. There's a glimpse, and the kinetic field will latch. He is going to go down the Infest Bomb, and immediately the Primal Roar. Aloha Dance, no time to Black Hole! Rebels have picked off the 2 important cores from VP who could stop this push, and they're looking for more. Rebels, they want to find themselves no fear. Will they be able to stop him? No such luck. The glimpse was up, but didn't quite have the cast in time.
Choclo has just been so amazing on his Primal Roars throughout this entire game. As soon as he hit level 6, you mentioned that he started roaming, he started getting around and making work happen. His Primal Roars have been...
Oh, Chronosphere right on the edge, but he did not catch the Doom. And yeah, we'll see Yoku take a lot of damage here. A beautiful static storm. They do buy back on the Alchemist, but this team fight not looking great for the March of the Machine is down. Look at how much damage is going out onto FNG, and Sidoi able to get Chronosphere and just walk it away. Paralyzing Cask, Unstable Concoction tossed on Devant's core. There's a nice acid spray, but Sidoi doesn't care about this, and again, this is gonna be a dieback on the Alchemist. Faceless Void having to time walk away, so incredibly low there, and there's the glimpse on back. He gets blown up. This is going fantastically for Rebels.
That chase out was really optimistic from Virtus.Pro, right? They had already blown their Chronosphere Witch Doctor Ultimate combo, which is basically their team fight for the most part. The Black Hole is there as well, but there's no Blink Dagger on the Enigma, right? So you really can't rely on that in a chasing situation. It's really more of a defensive move. Having already blown Witch Doctor, Faceless Void, they really needed to just stay on their high ground and force their opponents to slow push into a potential black hole.
Primal Roar onto No Fear. There is the black hole. It's gonna be stopped though. No Fear still brought down Sidoi, feeling just groovy here. Doesn't seem like anybody can do anything to him, and he still has the Bloody Aegis. Tinker taking quite a bit of damage because of the amp, but it will not matter. Urn Charge thrown out onto him. And Doom as well. He has a Crimson Guard and a Vlad's up. People healing up as they hit creeps, along with all the own charges coming out of the Disruptor. That's going to be 2 lanes of racks. I wouldn't be surprised if VP called the GG soon.
Was that a glimpse to cancel Black Hole? I think that's what happened there, but I wasn't 100% sure, because he didn't move very far off the glimpse. He basically had just been standing still. It was a really nice Black Hole, but there are just so many ways to counter that out, right? You got the Primal Roar, you've got the Glimpse, you've got the Static Storm, the Life Stealer does not yet have a Bastion, but I'm sure he will soon. Of course, you also have the Infernal Blade and the Doom, so unless you get basically everyone from Rebel in the Black Hole without a Blink Dagger, it's a tough call for Aloha Dance to be able to use that at the right time, if there is a right time.
And we've got the wonderful visual bug. Not actually game-breaking bug of Lifestealer's weird purple omelet orbs outside of the beast. This is one of my favorites.
Oh. Yeah, that, I've not seen that before, actually.
You haven't? It just looks like he's possessed, right? It's like you got a demon inside of you. You got something inside of him.
He's got something in there, yeah. And I'm sure for Virtus.Pro, it seems an awful lot like a demon. This game is moving pretty fast, though. Fairly neck-breaking speed. Like, if this game does in fact end in the next 2 minutes, which is what it's looking like, you're looking at barely breaking the range where they would be a standard deviation below the average.
This is also
very, very fast.
BP and Rebels actually, I mean, okay, what is this business? They are trying to be smoked up, but Doom just jumps right up in their faces. Won't quite be able to get the Doom up, but No Fear. Tinker is here, and FNG, the Infest Bomb hurting him. He's trying to do something to tame my wild, but the Crimson God, and just Tinker's so tanky right now, has 20 Bloodstone charges. There's the GG call. Glimpse back. They'll try to kill FNG before the throne explodes, and they'll get it. So,
wow. Yeah, this was a very well executed game from Rebel. Much better executed than I expected to see. I'm excited to see them play through the rest of these qualifiers.
I was a little bit concerned for them. Obviously, the teams that come through the open qualifiers often place last, to say the least. And Rebels, at least their first game, they've already taken 1 win, doing pretty damn well in this CIS-dominated regional qualifier, not just their pool, right? All of the qualifier, pretty CIS dominated. Either way, folks, That's going to be the end of Game 1. Game 2 should be coming up right quick. Final words, Gorgon, before we head over into that one?
Oh, I'm just excited to move into Game 2 and see how Rebels roll off their momentum.
As well, we'll try to get you all in there right quick. Once again, I'm Llama Down Under. I've been joined by Gorgon, also known as the Wonder Cow. You can find us on Twitter by those names. Any and all feedback on making the casting better to you, and let's get you into the next series or the next game right quick.